Right, so, hello Grandma.
Hello, Joe.
When's your birthday?
October the 31st, 1941.
Oh.
And I'm a witch.
Where were you born?
Perth in Scotland.
So you're not Scottish?
No, I was just born up there.
So who's your husband?
Brian. Brian said it.
Brian. And where did you meet him?
At a friend's wedding. But I used to work with her. I can't remember. I know we had a dance. A year later we were married.
So when was that?
1961. Had a house to rent in Alfred Street in the Thormsby. It was just one up, one down. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't big. It was old-fashioned, but that's how they were then, the street houses. When I was in Alfred Street, and we'd been married nearly 3 years, I think. I remember going to the hospital with Greta, which is your granddad's mum, and she come with me to Parkside, and to have an X-ray. And they did it horrible then. It was done with a big strap and just pulled tight off your stomach. And the girl said, "Oh, we've got twins." I said, "Go away." She said, "No, there's two, definitely two heads, two spines." I said, "I don't believe it." And I walked out and told Greta. Well, she nearly collapsed. Hey, our Chris. We moved to Norton. And I was in Norton when I had the girls.
What street was it?
Swinburne Road.
Was it a nice house?
Yeah, it was nice. It was 2 bedrooms, a big one and a small one, and living room and kitchen, and then a little added-on area out the back, and then a nice big back garden. But right at the bottom of the garden was the railway. We then moved back to Beaumont Road in North Ormsby, but it was a nice house. It was to be two big bedrooms and a bathroom.
What number?
73 Beaumont Road. I think it was. Yeah, I'm sure it was 73.
We were on about Beaumont Road, weren't we, the other day, about, have you been down Beaumont Road? So the one at the fish shop, the bedrooms were quite small, but the bathroom was absolutely ginormous. And Grandma was saying, because it used to be a bedroom, didn't she? She said it was a 3-bedroomed house with the bathroom, well, not a bathroom, but a toilet outside.
Yeah, the toilet,
So someone, before I think we'd moved in, had turned the bedroom into a bathroom, that's why it was so big.
Grandad said we should get ready thinking about moving, because before the girls because they'd started the school, we're only in the nursery, which was Lawson School. And he said before they get too far into the schooling, we should think about moving to where we really want to be, and a good area for them for schooling. So when we worked it out, there was a Henry Taylor Court School at the bottom of Ormsby Bank, and then the Nunthorpe School at the top. So we were set then for their schooling. We wouldn't have to move again.
Walk up that way?
Yeah, we used to go there. Come round there, yeah. Come walk up there. We used to walk all the way down Ormsby Bank. Come down here and go through there. And then when we left it, we went up to Nunthorpe, so we had to go to the other end of the bank.
When he'd come back, he said, "I'm on my way now." He'd phoned me, he said, "I'm on my way now." I said, "Oh, it's a house in Ormsby." He said, "I know, I've been to see it." He said, "It's all right, we can go back up and have a look." So we did, and we just loved it.
What was the address?
East Bank Road, 5 East Bank Road.
About how Dad built that wall. Do you remember the little bricks he had up? Yeah. Remember the wall? Our family tour. Look at it. Got French doors. Oh!
That was the place I always wanted. We used to live in Thornby and look up Ormsby Bank.
Yeah.
I just think, oh, I'd love to live up there.
And you eventually got up
there.
there.
I got up there. And I even liked the old village, old Ormsby village, because that's canny.
What was this house like?
And there used to be a big passageway in it, but Grandad and Kevin knocked the wall out, so the passage was then into the front room.
Yeah.
So it was all open.
Mm-hmm.
And they made me a lovely big banister and scrolls on it. And
did you have a bar?
yes, right under these stairs where I'm on about the scrolls, right under there was a bar. Nice living room. Then the car used to call it a morning room. But we opened that up, so it was like when you were in the kitchen, you had this room in front of you as well.
Kath Kenley.
Kath Kenley, Jean and Stan the other way. But everybody knew everybody.
What's opposite Norma Chimney's on my side?
Norma Chimney right the other end.
Yeah.
Best friends were there, and Jean McCabe and all them.
I used to be petrified of getting to that end though, because I kept it with someone watching us on the beach. You could see the parkway and then went there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to be able to cut to the field from here. There's a little wall round there.
But yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah.
You couldn't have wished for anywhere better for to bring kids up.
Has it changed at all?
No. No, except that we had a big bush there, didn't we, like there? Oh, for fuck's sake, am I getting on it? Watch someone come out and complain.
And I had Mark as well now by this time. Oh no, that was just straightforward. And I think to find out when I had him it was a boy, I thought it was perfect. 2 girls and a boy.
Yeah.
You know.
One of these.
And it was brilliant for him because he had 3 mums.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Because they were 12 by the time I had Mark. So.
Do you remember when you moved into Gilsland Close?
Yeah.
Like the transition?
Yeah, didn't like it at all.
Why?
Well, it needed a lot of work on it as well to be starting off with. Going from a big house like this to a small bungalow and having like that, I mean, them bedrooms in that house are massive. I should probably selfie stick.
We give the girls that room.
Yeah.
And they had like thingy beds.
And Beatles posters all over.
Yeah, all over the place. And we had this room with Mark.
Yeah.
But we had like a little petition up here. It wasn't a proper wall or anything.
Just a plastic thing.
Yeah, just a petition. And Mark had his bunk bed there and our beds were at that end. That was before them wardrobes were in.
So who are your parents?
Irene Patterson and Tommy Patterson.
And what were they like?
Mother was an absolute goddess.
Yeah.
She really was. I mean, she brought 3 of us up without any help at all from our dad. I remember him taking us to Blackpool.
Yeah.
You know, we used to go every year and stay in a little boarding house.
In 1937, Thomas Ernest Patterson, 21, married Irene May Mitchinson, 18. They were both single and they got married at St Paul's Church. Thomas is a decorator.
A pageant decorator.
Yeah.
That was, he worked for Turners, which was a big firm at the time. Maureen was the eldest, me, and then George. George was the youngest.
Yeah.
I suppose I had negative memories because of him leaving home.
Yeah.
And there was some trauma and issues.
Yeah.
I suppose the strongest memory I've got was he came back to our house just after he left home. Mum was out, Christine and Maureen I think were looking after me, and he knocked at the door, and I remember being in the front room and he was at the back door, and there was some element of fear in me, and I don't know where or why that was, but I immediately picked the poker up, you know, get a fire poker, because in them days you had coal fires. And I don't know why I did that.
On July the 26th, 1958, Fred Langley, 21, married Maureen May Patterson, 19. They were both single and they got married at St Paul's.
They had 3 kids, and the 3 kids were born close.
Where did she meet Mick?
Oh, God knows, I don't know where she met him, but it was the worst day of her life. And I said, I know, I always look at it and think, how did she end up with him?
What was he like?
Oh, the most vile, vulgar.
How long was she with Mick for?
Oh, for quite a few years. She had the other, she had Kevin, Michelle.
Mick used to abuse her.
He would try, but he wouldn't get very far with her more. I mean, she knifed him, she whipped him, she poured hot water over him, she poured hot fat over him.
Did she stab him?
Yeah, stabbed him in his neck.
Oh.
Come out, the knife come out and the blood followed it. And he'd walk in, he'd say, what's that? Well, what's that? It's your food. I don't want that. You don't want it. She'd open the bin up and just fork it straight into the bin, you know. But I've been in when she used to just jump up and go, she used to jump off the floor
And
to
slap him.
reach his face. Why is it she gets me to go down and sort him out, and I put him out the front door and she brings him back in the back? She was a bit like our dad. She was very hard, but the kindest.
Yeah.
The kindest sister anybody. She really was. She was hard, but her life was hard.
Yeah.
Lung cancer she had. And I went to see her in the hospital. And our George came for me and he took me over. And I said to her when I walked in the room, and the room was full, and she was sat there smoking her head up.
She met me, didn't she?
Oh yeah, she loved you. You were a gremlin.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I can't remember her at all.
No, you won't.
Come on, Sean.
Oh, the little one upstairs. Or he have to wait.
She said it
Looks pretty.
It looks like. But she said to Mum, I told you you'd have a gremlin, didn't I?
Yeah.
And yeah, she'd met you. If she was here now, and that's me one thing, wish, you know, when you say you can have a wish and you want it to come true, and you'd love to walk through the door. I'd love her to walk in and you know rich.
Oh God, yeah.
You know.
She'd love us, wouldn't she?
Oh, she'd love you to death. It took her all her life, and she still didn't get over him.
She'd often have to school to bring me to Normanby, and we'd stand secreted in a corner of a shop or somewhere, trying to watch for his van.
That's my mum.
That's Irene.
Irene, Arthur, her husband.
Yeah, Arthur came later. I suppose I was into my teens, as I remember Arthur. He was obviously a trucker.
Yeah.
He liked his ale. Wasn't fit. He had problems with his chest. They used to go a lot to the TUC club.
Yeah.
And I think she went to a pub, one of the pubs, or TUC maybe.
So when he drank, he definitely got sozzled. And in them days, there wasn't the emphasis on drinking and driving, but I remember having this fear that Mum would not arrive home one night because he pranged the car, you know.
Big drinker. And that's where, when our mum took to drink, when she had lived in Cargafleet House, our mum, George said Mum was ill, we had to go. So he picked me up and took me round, and she was absolutely sozzled out of her mind in bed. And George started looking around the flat, and in every cupboard, every shelf, every nook and cranny, there was empty bottles. And they had the caravan, they got a caravan. And
Didn't he pass away in the caravan?
Yeah. Yeah, he had a heart attack. Yeah, and he'd say his life was shorter than it should have been, but I think that was through the drink.
Don and Tracy meet your mum.
Oh yeah, the girls knew. Oh yeah, they loved our mum.
Yeah.
They absolutely, if you ask them about our mum.
Do you remember your nana?
Yeah.
What was she like?
It's alright, she was lovely. I loved our Nana. She was one very cool in the end, and she was always lifting things.
Did she ever look after you?
Yeah, all the time. We used to be, when she lived in Pallister Park or Park End. And she had Tina, the dog, at that house. I remember that one where she used to look after. And the hall down the street in the garden called it the hall. It was plain muck.
What was Tina? What dog was it?
Alsatian.
Do you miss your mum?
Yeah. Yeah. Miss Maureen more. But with my mum, it's relief.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
And Irene's living at 97 Lord Street, and her father is John Mitchinson. So this is Grandma's granddad.
I mean, I look at them, I remember them being lovely with our girls, because our girls were only little when I used to take them round to see them. But they hadn't related any of that to their own family. Maybe, yeah, because she had a shed full of kids.
How many kids did they have?
14 in all. 3 or 4 died.
As kids?
Either childbirth or whatever was around at the time killed them off.
Can you name them all that lived?
No. Oh, there was Alwyn, Florrie, Dick, Harold.
How many have you got?
Emily.
Yeah.
Emily, Florrie, oh, they're all dead. Mary.
George.
Yeah, young George.
You got them all, yeah?
Yeah, and they're all dead now.
What was Harold like?
Lovely. Oh, he was the male of our mum.
Yeah. He's the eldest, isn't he?
Yeah. He was the loveliest.
Yeah.
Harold was like a light.
On the 26th of April 1943, Harold Mitchinson, 28, married Alice May Hunter, 23, and they got married at St Paul's Church.
Your gran didn't like his wife?
Yeah. And you see, that was the sign of the times.
You know, you've heard the phrase black sheep in a family.
Well, he was that.
He was one of the black sheep, and I don't know particularly why, other than I think
we don't. We're trying to figure it out.
Well, I think it was something to do with the woman that he married didn't suit favour with grandma and granddad, but I don't know.
She just thought she wasn't good enough, and she'd heard things about her.
About Emily next.
Emily. It depends who you're going to show this to. Emily was just a shite.
Yeah, that's the nice way to put it.
Yeah.
Trouble causer.
Yeah. And gossip.
Yeah.
A not very nice person.
On the 21st of September 1946, Edward Wood, 36, married Emily May Mitchinson, 25. They were both single and they got married at All Saints Church in Middlesbrough. Edward was a draftsman and Emily was a baker.
Teddy Wood.
Right, what was he like?
Stuck-up prick.
A very quiet man, never said a lot at all. Used to sit there. I always remember he used to have one chair. If you went, he was usually sat in that chair. As Wood, their son, and Michael was their youngest son. We were of a similar age.
Yeah, you were all like, guys that you used to hang around with each other.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time, particularly in our sort of early teens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she used to bake.
Yeah.
She used to bake lovely cakes and stuff like that, but the house was always a tip, and you know, when she had Michael, she threw him at the end of the bed. I don't want that. She had Leslie, you see, she already had a son, so to have another one,
it was too much.
And our mum was there at the end of the bed, and she said, right, wrap him up, I'll have him, I'll take him. No, you won't. Our mum said, I will, you and her having him. And she wouldn't let our mum have him otherwise. I mean, we did have him an awful lot. He was a lovely lad.
Had an accident, didn't he?
Yeah, and died in the accident.
Yeah, he was playing on the truck.
On the truck. Anywhere we shall have rain.
And as I understand it, this wagon had pulled up. Michael must have been attempting to get off, knowing that he was going to probably get towed away.
Yeah.
And as I understand it, he fell under the wheels of the vehicle.
Yeah. That was another sad thing. Our mum broke her out over that. Oh my God.
It just, he whacked his head, didn't he, off the pavement?
Yeah. And I'd say, well, as soon as we found I couldn't believe it. And that's where Emily changed, and she started going to church and lived a life around the church.
Found it. Together again. Sleep in peace, a little jewel in God's crown. Oh, that's nice.
brother George.
Yeah.
I didn't know him. All I knew of him, he was lovely. He was.
Yeah. He looks like Mark, doesn't he, on that photo?
Yeah. He was a lovely lad. How Mum idolised him.
Yeah.
You know, and didn't hesitate when it come to naming our George. And he was wrong place, wrong time.
Enemy bombers travel at hundreds of miles an hour. Every town is a target.
But as I was so sad, so young, and you can imagine, you know, when I see his photograph, he looks so angelic.
Yeah, innocent.
Yeah, for a young lad, and them days, you know.
He looks just like Mark, doesn't he?
No.
Mary.
Auntie Mary was canny, she was lovely. She was a bit bombastic.
Yeah.
But I think with her life with Harry, she had to be.
On the 3rd of June 1944, William Henry Waite, 24, married Mary Mitchinson, 19, and they were both single and they got married at St Paul's. Yeah.
And with the business they had, the butcher's business.
Yeah.
And she had to be of a strong nature and it was right. Say that was it. It was the corner.
Yeah.
Like that. He came off that, the frontage, onto the side, and there were two separate roads. So say it was Grange Road like that, and this was the other road. But what the address would be, I don't know. She only ever had the one child. She tried for years and years, and then she had a son in Canada.
So when did she emigrate?
Oh, I can't remember.
Were you just young?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was only young when she went.
She sailed on the Mauritania. Shop would have been on 146 Clarendon Road. Yeah, it looks like that would have been the front of the butcher's shop, and then you'd have gone into the flat through this door here, so it's all changed now. There's like a window on the front, and it's like a living room by the look of it. There's a lady watching telly in there. So it's totally gone, but they lived here and then they moved to Canada. Did they both die in Canada?
Yeah. Yeah, she come home here. On one of them pictures you'll see she doesn't look well at all. Mm-hmm. She looks really gaunt.
Mary met me as well.
Yes, yeah.
I don't remember her.
Oh yeah, because you're on that photograph of George's.
Yeah. Leslie's behind me.
Yeah. Yes, but that was the next generation, you see. That's how, if she would look at that photograph, and not Rose, that's how she would look at it. There was her sisters there and her cousins. And
Richard?
Oh, he was something else, Richard. He was so canny. How could anybody hurt him?
He had one lung, didn't he?
Yeah. Such a lovely lad. Married her, Anne Swainston.
On the 2nd of March 1957, Richard James Mitchinson, 27, married Anne Swainston, 19. They were both single and they got married at All Saints Church.
And two girls.
Karen.
Karen.
I've forgotten the other one.
Anne. It was his.
Yeah, Anne.
He'd pedal down to the Thames when I lived in the Thamesby.
Yeah.
He'd pedal down and, here's a fan, Chris. Here, have two. No, because I can't give you them back. I just want to say, you know, when he died, it was so sad.
He was quite young as well, wasn't he?
Yeah. My auntie and her husband, who got divorced, and then she committed suicide.
What's her name?
Florrie.
What's his name?
Hang on a minute. I hate him, that's why I can't remember. Put him out of my life.
Why?
Oh, he was a pig. Joseph Jones. It was
Fat.
Is this devout Catholic, right up. And she fell for him, head over heels, and they're married and had no kids.
And then he began an affair with
Richard's wife,
Anne
Swainston.
Yeah.
And it broke their hearts. Can you imagine having to live through that?
It tore them brother and sister apart.
Oh. You can't even go there, can you? Because you can't
Imagine what you
imagine. And she's still alive, and today, as far as I know.
Yeah.
The last time Liz was talking about it, she said, oh yeah, she still goes to the church. And
Depression, would you say?
yeah. Oh yes, in a bad way. In a bad way. Our Maureen did her best to keep her going, to bring her out of it. And every time you went, she just,
Dead body found on the 13th of November 1973 at 175 Corringham Walk, Netherfields, Middlesbrough. Florence Jones. She's the wife of Joseph Jones, a railwayman. Poisoning by overdose of aspirin. Killed herself while the balance of her mind was disturbed.
So did she deliberately overdose, do you think?
no, I think, well, I'd like to think it was a mistake she'd made and she tried to get help and it just didn't happen. So in the long run, you've got to look at it, it was a blessing.
Yeah.
Because if she'd have lived, she'd have been tortured. She'd have been tortured.
Because they got married, didn't they?
Yeah. But even so, even if they hadn't got married when she was alive, the fact that they were together.
Alwyn, last but not least.
Alwyn, she's died.
Just recently.
She just died of breast cancer.
On the 4th of July 1959, Derek Brimlow, 23, married Alwyn Mitchinson, 22. They were both single and they got married at All Saints Church in Middlesbrough.
Alwyn was a movie star in the making.
Obviously she was in Canada for a lot of years. Yeah. Then when she came back, she married and went to live in Warrington.
Then when she come home, it was all this bloke that she'd met on the boat, and he lived in Manchester and he was the best thing since sliced bread.
So what was John and Emily's marriage like, the two together?
It was a hard life, very hard, and with all the kids didn't help.
What was the Hartington Road house like?
It was big.
Yeah.
It was a big house, really was. I mean, it would have to be for all the kids that she'd had. I mean, even when we came back from Scotland, when our dad got demobbed out of the army, we lived there in the front room in the parlour, I told her.
With the rose?
With the rose on the ceiling that I hated. He used to knock hell out of our grandma.
Yeah, I remember her saying it.
He did. He used to bray her, beat her, kick her. They had a little flat on Pallister Park. A little flat, well, it was a flat. But it was more, because it was downstairs, it was more like a bungalow to us. Yeah. You know, it was canny, it was nice, and it was lovely to see them in there. Yeah. Because their other house was too big for them. I mean, okay, when all the kids were at home, and the families used to come and go, but you see, at their age and stage in their life, the kindness to one another was there. You could feel it, touch it. It was lovely.
Yeah.
You know.
Compared to them.
How they had been.
Yeah.
You know, you just look and you think Grandad's realised. And it was lovely. Our mum used to take us every Sunday. We'd go around with the girls.
Yeah. So the girls met your granddad?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't think they'll remember them.
Oh, no, because they were only tots. Grandma had a big glass-top coffee table, and it was always near between her and Grandad. And I think it had butterflies on and flowers. And they'd walk around that because they were just talking, you see.
Yeah.
And she'd say, I'm not taking them fingerprints off. They'll stay there till you come next week.
So to go back to the beginning with Emily, she was born on the 14th of September 1895 at 8 Nixon Street in Middlesbrough. She's a girl. We know her father is William Hill and her mother is Emily Hill, formerly Fellows.
Yeah, Emily Hill, formerly Fellows, that's right.
That's her mum.
Yeah, that's Grandma's name. The Fellows family. It's the only way I can put the dots together on that. Because our mum said her name was Fellows. Because I thought, what a strange name. Look, couldn't write. Just put an X. The mark of Emily Hill. She couldn't write that.
And her mum has signed the birth certificate. Well, she's put an X because that means she can't write. So the nearest census to Emily's birth is the 1901 census, and on it we have at 63 Duncombe Street we've got William Hill. He's the head of the family and he's 41, and Emily's the wife and she's 39, and then we've got the children. So in total at this point we have Richard James, Sarah, Florence, William, our Emily, Ralph, Joseph and Walter. On the 3rd of January 1914, Richard James Hill, 28, married Emily Powell, 23. They were both single and they got married at St Paul's.
Hello.
Hello, is that Carol?
It is.
Hi, I got your number off Dorothy in a text message about an hour ago, and it's just regarding our family history. I think we might be related. Was your granddad called Richard?
Yes.
It's through his sister, Emily.
Right. Well, he was called Richard, and for some peculiar reason, everybody, including myself and my brothers and sisters, used to call him Uncle Dick.
Yes,
He was always known as Uncle Dick. Why? Nobody ever questioned it. Why was he called Uncle when he was a granddad?
I don't know.
I know that as we called him Uncle Dick, my dad's father, we never called him Granddad.
Yeah.
And he was an old bastard, really. He wasn't very nice to my mother or to any of those kids. Something happened, and I think Bill, my dad's brother, he died. They went bankrupt, and he died. And then his wife, I forget her name now, I can see her face.
Esther.
She looked, Esther, that's right. I'll tell you who she looked like. She looked like Molly Simpson.
Right.
She was, like a big hard face. We used to go and visit the pub that had been in Uncle Dick's name. I think they'd had more than one pub. And somehow, I don't know, because when you're a kid, you only pick up bits and bobs. Somehow, Bill and his wife had inveigled Uncle Dick into signing the pub over to them. And then he was out on his ear. So they were in the pub, and he had nowhere to go. And although he hadn't been very nice to my mum, obviously because he thought she was a tainted woman having an illegitimate child, he was really quite nasty to me. But my mother took him in and looked after him up till him dying. And he lived in our house, and he obviously now, I know when I was an adult, he must have been developing dementia, because he used to come down with soap on his arms, and he'd say, look, the tablets the doctor's giving me, they're coming out on my arms, and it was soap, I can remember going when they were cooking Sunday dinner, they lived above it, and we'd go upstairs and we could smell like the meat cooking, but I wasn't allowed to go in the pub part. And what I remember my mum saying was that he was a bit soft-hearted, and obviously it was a very difficult time in the Depression, and people used to not pay the bills, and he never chased it up or something, so he lost the business. Yeah, he wasn't a very talkative man.
Yeah.
Very extremely smart.
Yeah.
A lot smarter than my dad. My dad never mentioned his mum.
Didn't he?
But he, obviously must have been very traumatic at that young age.
Yeah.
I don't know what Carol told you, but my mother was a dancer.
Yeah.
And she was dancing on the stage when she met my biological father. But she'd gone out with my dad, Ralph, before that, and he always had a torch for her. She married him really because he'd been so good to me.
On the 5th of July 1947, Ralph Frederick Hill, 29, married Rachel Russell Easton Harris, 23, and they also got married at St Paul's.
We went to live just out, more or less opposite Albert Park, and that house that we lived in, I mean, that street, it's sort of run down and a bit seedy now, but when we lived there, the only families that lived in the houses were families. There weren't, now they're all flats and sublets. And when they got divorced, I think I was about 12 or 13, and Dad didn't have anywhere or couldn't afford to go anywhere, so he lived in our house really like a lodger.
Yeah,
Dad died.
Rachel got remarried, didn't she?
Yes, she married a Hungarian
Yeah.
who nobody liked. I think they got on better when my dad moved to the other house.
Yeah.
Occasionally they'd meet up. Palladium Berlin used to be like a little shopping centre.
Yeah.
And, my mum would say, I met your dad today, and they'd have a little chat about something.
That's nice,
so
though.
I think they got on better.
Here's Gran Emily in an old photograph with two people, and there's quite some confusion around the relationship or the relations of some of Emily's side of the family.
Well, it's one of those, your great aunt, maybe something like that, because if that's right, she's my grandma's sister.
And that's your theory?
Yeah.
Right.
So she'd be a great aunt, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And what makes you think that she's your grandma's sister?
Only by what Mum told me.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's only going on what they said, because it was a case of we didn't sit and talk like we would and get facts out.
Whilst I've got you on the phone, I've got a question. You said that this Ethel Carter is related. Is it through your gran?
Yes, yeah.
Do you know what sister she's related to? Because I'm still baffled.
It was somebody who was known as Aunt Sarah.
On February the 3rd, 1913, James Richard Carter, 29, married Sarah Victoria Hill, 24. They were both single, and they got married at St John's in Middlesbrough. They had two kids that lived, Ethel and Harry.
And she lived just along the road from us in Cranfield Avenue, Brambles Farm.
Right.
She was always a sort of. She looked like I always thought of her as a grandma. I used to go to Brambles Farm School when we first moved to Thorntree.
Right.
And I used to go from school to Aunt Sarah's, and she used to give me a little paper bag with sugar in and a stick of rhubarb to stick in it. Aunt Sarah partly brought my dad up because his mother had died when he was very young. There was a chap called Harry Carter.
Right.
Who, again, I remember well as a child growing up. I think Harry and Ethel were brother and sister.
Like Harry Carter, when he married Florrie, they automatically went there and lived.
Uncle Harry was a different cat. Uncle Harry was one of nature's gentlemen. Harry Carter, I loved him.
Yeah.
He did a kitchen extension for me and my husband when we didn't have much money, and he used to just come and work weekends when he wasn't doing his other work.
Yeah.
So we got it in increments, like over about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
We lived in the building site, but he meet.
Yeah.
He was kind, he was a hard worker, he was gentle.
He went out, I don't know, did he go out to Australia? But he used to wear this funny hat.
He had a motorbike with a sidecar and he used to put us in it and take us round the block. I do remember a husband with Aunt Sarah.
So whether he died in one of the wars, not, I don't know. But I always knew her on her own.
A husband who had shrapnel in his forehead, and I used to sit, I knew it was from the war.
Yeah.
And as a child, I used to staring at it and wondering if it would pop out. Aunt Sarah's husband obviously must have been badly affected by the war, and I just remember he was being quiet, but he was very kind and nice. But he just was very quiet. I think he was disabled a bit from the war as well. But Aunt Sarah had a big garden, like they do with Robert's family in those days, and as I said, she'd give you rhubarb, but she would do bilberries, which you don't see anymore. She'd make bilberry pies and things. She was really, really lovely.
And then we move on to Emily's three youngest brothers, Ralph, Joe and Walter. Ralph married Martha and lived in Grove Hill, and Joe married Ivy May.
You're married to John then?
I am, yes.
And he was Joe and Ivy's son? Youngest, yeah, right.
Richard, Kenneth, Joe, Audrey,
yeah,
Dennis and John.
What was Ivy like?
Ivy? Oh, good grief. About 4'10".
Yeah.
Wasn't supposed to live past her 4th birthday.
Right, so she even...
Got to 93.
Yeah, she did that well, didn't she?
Yeah, like a creaking gate. She always had something wrong with her, but she never ever failed. She was a little bugger in her earlier days. She used to run, like coach trips.
Yeah.
And John reckons she only run them because she got a free seat on the bus. Lived in 428 Newport Road. Lived in Lord Street first, didn't she? And I John vaguely remembers Hartington Road.
We lived there in the front room in the parlour, I told her.
With the rose.
With the rose on the ceiling that I hated.
Yeah.
And living in Hartington Road.
That was Emily, yeah. But John's born, like, in the late 40s, isn't he?
48.
And my grandma's mum was born 1919, so there's a big gap.
A big difference, yes.
Yeah.
They were cousins, yeah.
Yeah. But that's because Emily was older than Joseph, that's why as well.
Yeah, he was one of the younger ones again.
Yeah. And Richard's the one who moved to Australia.
That's right.
Yeah. Your Richard's named after that Richard. The elder.
Right.
Joe had a brother and he was named Richard.
Yeah.
Why did Richard move to Australia?
We were married in 69. I didn't know him. I didn't meet him till the year I met him was Jubilee year, 1977.
Oh, so he came back.
He came home. And knocked on my door on the other house where I used to live in Martindale.
What, just randomly?
Yes.
I bet that was a shock.
And he just knocked on the door and just said, "There's my brother live here." Ivy, bless her, didn't even recognise him.
Yeah. How did Kenneth and Audrey pass away? Because they died quite young as well, didn't they?
Yeah, but Kenny died when he was 23. He also had been in the army.
Yeah.
And the story that we were told from the older brother Joe and from Ivy was that he picked up some kind of infection, like a germ.
Right, okay, yeah.
Audrey had chest trouble all her life.
Right.
Like, I think we used to call it bronchiectasis. But she did develop cancer. She had a lot of things.
John never knew his dad at all, or did he?
John was 10.
Right.
When his father died.
Did any of the brothers speak about Joseph?
Other than the fact that, where did he work, John? He worked in the steelworks, but
yeah.
He was a slinger.
Yeah.
He doesn't remember. We've got a picture of him. other than his middle name, strange middle name of Anthill.
Yeah, I came across that. Yeah.
Hello?
Hello, is Fred there?
Fred, yeah, isn't it? Just that I only had that photograph of me mum and dad.
Yeah, I've got the photograph.
Walter Hill married Evelyn Shutt in 1926 and they moved to Grove Hill.
You live near Ralph, didn't you?
Where? Ralph, yeah. They lived in Millside Avenue.
Was it Woodville Avenue where you lived?
We live in Woodville, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right, 3.
Doreen, Florrie first, Doreen, and then it was me.
Right.
During the war, he worked at Early Nook, and then he did a little bit on the job of the plane. My mum, she did with the cleaning the head. It wasn't like a full-time Doreen and Florrie. They might only work there about 6 months or 9 months, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As a charette, so it wasn't like a full-time job.
Didn't your dad fall out with your granddad?
He didn't like me off the granddad, because he was an evil bugger. He was always battling his wife, and he blamed him for getting killed by the bloody Tram.
So she got run over.
She didn't know what she was going to do, crossed the road and walked into a Tram.
Yeah.
They blamed him for that.
On the 26th of June 1917 at the North Riding Infirmary in Middlesbrough. Emily Hill, she's female, she's 56. Injuries accidentally received through being knocked down by an electric train car on Newport Road in Middlesbrough. The inquest was held on the 27th of June 1917. Emily was 22 when her mum was killed. Since the women of this family are quite strong, I thought I'd continue up the female line and find out more about Emily Fellows. On June the 2nd, 1884, William Hill, 24, married Emily Fellows, 21. They were both single and they got married in the parish of St James in Handsworth in Staffordshire. William is a furnace man and they're both living at Wattville Street. His father is Richard Hill and Emily's father is James Fellows. This is where the double barrel name of Richard James carries on to all of the Middlesbrough descendants that are named Richard.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
So we're outside Dudley Street, we're like Ladbrokes is here, we're in Wolverhampton, right?
Yeah, Dudley.
And Dudley, we're following
Emily Fellows.
Emily Fellows, right. What's that say? Raised
King's Head.
King's Head, Dudley, so you've got William... Is that McNeilson or?
Yeah.
McNeilson. He's a head, he's 33. I can't read his occupation, I'm not gonna lie.
Hotel manager.
Hotel manager.
Aye. But anyway, at the bottom here you've got Emily Fellows. She's a servant, she's unmarried, she's 17.
And she's a domestic servant.
So 24 years before Grandma's gran, Emily, was born, her mother, Emily, was a servant in a pub in Dudley city centre.
Fuck off, that's snow.
So that whole block there was the King's Head pub.
Jesus Christ.
Yes, so it is hailing, isn't it?
Yeah. In the middle of fucking...
April.
April.
Lost in Birmingham, trying to find the hotel.
Seems we're 5 minutes away, so...
As we know, Emily Fellows' father was James Fellows, and he was a painter.
On April the 18th, 1853, James Fellows, 22, married Elizabeth Millard, 19. They were both single and they got married in the parish of St Luke's in Bilston in Stafford. Just off the High Street, and Tom's reading the 1871 census for James Fellows.
I am indeed. Yeah. So number 12, you've got James Fellows, he's the head. He's 39, he's a painter. Does that say painter master? Then you've got Elizabeth Fellows, she's a wife. She's 35. And then you've got Thomas, he's a son, he's 14. Then you've got George Fellows, he's a son, he's 12, and he's a scholar. Begins with an E.
Yeah, that'll be my Emily.
Emily, right? She's a daughter, she's 6, and she's also a scholar.
Yeah.
Then we've got Elizabeth Fellows. She's a daughter, she's 4, she's not in school by the looks of this.
In total, James and Elizabeth had Thomas, George, our Emily, Elizabeth, Pamela, Nellie and Hetty. We're going to just focus on 2 of these kids, Thomas and Nellie, and it's 1871 when they lived in Bilston, so fast forward 40 years and we know that our Emily lives in Cannon Street, but Thomas, Nellie and Hetty are all living in Smethwick, down the road from Bilston.
What? Can you open it so I can have a drink? I am assuming it's a pub. So,
It's the 1911 census, isn't it?
we've got James Davis, he's the head, 34, married. He's a bricklayer's labourer. Then you've got Hetty Davis, she's a wife, 33, obviously married, would make sense, she's the wife. Then you've got, is that Nellie Fellows, which is a sister, she's 37 and single. And then you've got Tom Fellows, the brother.
What's Tom's job?
Does that say Alms? ALMS, what's that?
Before the creation of the welfare state, alms meant that many poor families relied upon the church for handouts to survive, especially if they were disabled or ill health.
So obviously he's accepting help basically. He's from Bilston, Staffordshire, and he's been totally blind for 23 years.
Yeah.
Bless him.
He's the... So, he wasn't blind from birth.
So he was blind from 30 odd.
We may never know what made Thomas Fellows blind back in Bilston when he was in his early 30s. We know that his sister Emily died in the tram crash in 1917, so he probably never came up to her funeral. He stayed and lived with Hetty for the rest of her life, and he outlived most of his siblings, dying in 1943, aged 86.